Ever felt like life just, I don't know, throws things at you? Or that your best efforts somehow just backfire?
Oh, absolutely. Or the opposite, right? Sometimes good things just seem to fall into your lap.
Exactly, that cascade effect. Well, what if there were, like, invisible forces behind all that? And what if
Yeah.
you could actually learn to work with them?
It's a really fascinating idea, and that's what we're diving into today, looking at concepts from reality transurfing.
Yeah, specifically focusing on two chapters, the wave of fortune and balance.
Right. Our mission here is to unpack these big ideas, things like pendulums, this wave of fortune, the whole boomerang effect of your thoughts.
And that fundamental law of balance. Basically figuring out why things happen the way they do, and crucially, how you might be able to use this understanding to, well, shift things.
Shift your reality, exactly.
Okay, so let's jump in. These invisible forces.
hmm
First up, pendulums. Now, these aren't grandfather clock pendulums,
Mm.
right? What are they?
No, not at all. In transurfing, pendulums are basically energetic structures. Think of them like collective thought forms.
Okay.
And their main goal, really, is just to feed on your energy. And here's the kicker. None of them are actually constructive for you. They only serve themselves.
None. That sounds pretty bleak. What about, say, joining a gym? You get fitter, feel better. Isn't that constructive for me?
That's a great point, and it gets to the heart of how subtle they can be. Yes, you might get a personal benefit,
Right.
but the pendulum itself, whether it's a, harmless beach volleyball club or something much more serious like a political movement or even a criminal gang, operates the same way.
How so?
It needs your energy to keep swinging, so to speak. When you go to the gym, you follow its rules,
Yeah.
you participate, you give it your focus, your energy, you become part of that collective structure.
Ah, okay. So even positive activities can have this pendulum aspect where part of my energy is feeding it, not just benefiting me.
Exactly. The crucial thing is recognizing where your energy is flowing and realizing that if the energy supply stops, if people stop engaging, the pendulum just stops. It loses its power.
So awareness is key,
Hmm.
recognizing these energy drains.
Precisely.
Okay, so pendulums drain energy, but you mentioned a flip side, forces that don't want our energy, but maybe just offer good things. This wave of fortune.
Yes, exactly. It's described as a set of circumstances that are just personally favorable to you, almost like finding golden veins or lifelines running through this vast field of possibilities, the alternative space.
Like tapping into a stream of good luck.
Kind of. And it has this cascade effect. You hit one piece of good fortune, you embrace it, feel genuine joy about it.
And then more good stuff follows.
Often, yes. It's like you're riding that wave. But if that initial good luck is quickly followed by something bad,
Uh-oh.
it usually means a destructive pendulum has managed to hook you, maybe through doubt or negativity, and pulled you off that fortunate lifeline. Your reaction matters immensely.
That's fascinating. And this wave, it doesn't take energy.
No, that's the beauty of it. It's like a sea wave carrying you to shore when you're exhausted. It doesn't need anything from you. It has no personal interest in your fate.
So it's just there. And the concept of a stationary wave, what does that mean? It doesn't move.
Right. The idea is the wave itself, the potential for good fortune, is always there in the field of alternatives. It's your movement, your energetic state, that shifts you between different lifelines, making it feel like the wave comes and goes.
Okay, so it's not about chasing it, but about choosing it.
Exactly. It's a question of choice. Like the bluebird of happiness, you don't have to catch it, but you definitely shouldn't drive it away when it lands near you.
Which means you need a certain independence from those energy-draining pendulums to even be open to the wave.
That's a big part of it, yes. Freedom of choice.
All right, so we have pendulums draining us and the wave of fortune offering potential good. How does our own internal state, our thoughts, play into which one we experience more? This brings us to the boomerang effect, right?
Absolutely. Our thoughts are constantly radiating energy. Think about that constant mental chatter most of us have.
Yeah, it never stops sometimes.
Right. And if it's not consciously directed, it often defaults to negative thoughts, worries, complaints.
And the source material suggests that destructive pendulums have kind of conditioned us this way over millennia,
Yeah.
keeping us focused on fear, on what we don't want.
It's a compelling perspective. We often know exactly what we hate or fear, but we're much vaguer about what we truly desire and focus on, and that negative focus, it radiates energy at the frequency of those unwanted things.
Like tuning your radio to the station you despise.
Precisely. There's this great example about hating your house. If you constantly think, oh, I hate this place, you're radiating that specific negative energy.
Okay.
So Even if you manage to move to a brand new, amazing house, you might find things start going wrong. Leaky taps, noisy neighbors, whatever, because you're still tuned to that frequency of house problems.
Wow. So you attract problems even in the new place. That's
Yeah.
sobering. But what if someone is in a genuinely awful situation? How do you just switch to gratitude? Doesn't that feel like accepting the unacceptable?
That's a really important question. It's not about pretending to love the bad situation. It's about first accepting it neutrally without the intense negative emotional charge. Just acknowledging, okay, this is how it is right now.
Taking the emotional heat out of it.
Exactly. Then find any tiny thing to appreciate. Even just, well, this roof keeps the rain off. Something small and undeniably true.
Okay, find a foothold of neutrality or slight positivity.
Right. And from there, you consciously shift your focus to what you do want, not dwelling on the hate, but projecting the desire. It's about changing your energetic broadcast.
So if I'm always complaining about the weather before a holiday,
Even if you have the tickets booked, you might just find issues pop up, clouds follow you maybe. You've kind of pre-programmed yourself for negativity about the trip.
it sounds like we're always riding some kind of energetic wave or lifeline, and its quality matches our internal state.
That's the core idea. Your vibration attracts your reality. Negative energy in or negative energy out tends to attract disappointment.
So it's not just about shielding yourself from negativity, but actively stopping yourself from broadcasting it. That feels like a big step.
It is. It takes conscious effort, like actively controlling your thoughts in those moments when your mind wanders, driving, walking, doing routine tasks.
Instead of replaying worries, program in positive thoughts. Focus on what you want to achieve, not what you haven't.
Yes, and really nurture any positive shifts. Here's some good news. Savor it. Talk about it. Don't just let it pass. Keep yourself tuned to that frequency of the wave of good fortune.
It's like the classic optimist versus pessimist. It's not just attitude. It's like they're literally tuning into different realities, different lifelines.
That's the transurfing perspective, absolutely. Which is why approaching challenges, even small annoyances, with a sense of curiosity or even joy, finding that slightest blessing.
The glass half full thing.
Right. It's incredibly powerful. If you see a setback and recognize, this is a pendulum trying to hook my negative energy, you have a choice.
Vent and feed it, or withhold the energy and win.
Exactly. You gain victory by not playing its game. Your internal vibration creates your experience. Shift the vibration, the experience has to follow.
It makes me think of those little rituals people do for luck, like a market trader brushing money on their goods or giving the first customer a discount.
Yes. It's often not the ritual itself that's magical. It's the belief, the focused thought energy, the attunement to success that the ritual represents. They're consciously tuning their vibration.
Aligning their energy with the outcome they want.
Precisely.
Okay, this is all flowing towards a really fundamental principle you mentioned earlier, the law of balance.
Yes, this underpins everything else. Think about nature, night follows day, tides ebb and flow, life and death. Everything seeks equilibrium.
It's just how things are.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't really explain why it exists, but it's fundamental to how the world works. Pure absolute balance would mean nothing ever happens, so there's this constant oscillation, this striving for equilibrium.
And it's not just nature. Our actions and even our thoughts can disrupt this balance.
They absolutely can. They create ripples, commotion in the energy field.
Which leads us to this crucial concept of excess potential. This seems really central to the law of balance. Can you break that down?
Yes, this is fascinating. Excess potential is created by our mental energy when we assign too much importance to something. Any object, any situation.
Too much importance.
Right.
How does that work?
Think about standing on the floor in your living room. Simple, no big deal energetically. Now imagine standing on the very edge of a high cliff.
Okay, heart pounding already.
Right. The physical act of standing is the same, but the fear, the intense significance you place on not falling, creates this massive energetic distortion, this imbalance, that's excess potential.
That's like a knot of tension in the energy field.
Exactly. And the universe, governed by this law of balance, doesn't like these knots. So balancing forces emerge automatically to neutralize that potential.
And how do they do that?
Often, paradoxically, by bringing about the very thing you were trying desperately to avoid or the opposite of what you desperately desired. It's that Sod's law or Murphy's law effect.
If anything can go wrong, it will. Because our fear of it going wrong created the imbalance that attracted it.
That's the idea. Your intense desire or intense fear creates an energetic charge that the balancing forces have to dissipate, often in ways you didn't intend. It pulls the unwanted thing towards you.
Wow. That explains a lot. So many times you feel like you're fighting against something and it just gets worse.
Precisely. Understanding this helps us see the common traps we fall into, where we unknowingly create our own problems by generating excess potential.
Like work-life imbalance. That's a huge one for many people.
A classic example. You pour everything into work, making it excessively important. You think you're being productive, but the imbalance often triggers balancing forces.
Me too.
Things like burnout, illness, relationship problems, maybe even less productivity in the long run. Your soul kind of rebels.
So the advice is, detach a bit.
Yeah.
Give your hands and head, but not your heart.
Exactly. Do your work well with integrity, but don't let it consume your entire sense of self-worth or identity.
Unless
That work is perfectly aligned with your deeper personal goals, your soul's true path. Then it might actually nourish your energy, not drain it, and not create the same imbalance.
Okay, that makes sense. So imbalance often comes from how we relate to things,
Yeah.
including ourselves and others. Let's talk about resentment and judgment. First, resentment of self.
Yeah, constantly focusing on your flaws, your perceived shortcomings. That creates huge excess potential. You end up fighting yourself.
Like the example of a shy person trying so hard not to be shy that they come across as awkward or even arrogant.
Exactly. They make the shyness more significant by fighting it. The key is acceptance. Forgive yourself, accept the imperfections. That frees up the energy you are wasting in that internal battle.
Energy you can then use for actual growth. Okay, what about turning that outward? Dissatisfaction with the world.
Constantly complaining, railing against how things are. It creates its own excess potential. It attracts more things to be dissatisfied about, pulling you onto negative lifelines.
It's like the universe says, oh, you don't like this. Here's more of it.
In a way, yes. The balancing forces might even seem to besiege you, limiting your negative influence. Contrast that with the creative energy of joy that shifts you onto positive lifelines. Remember King Solomon's ring. This too shall pass. Find the positive, however small.
And then there's judging others. The source material warns this is particularly dangerous.
Very. Scorn creates strong excess potential. If you despise beggars, the balancing forces might bring you into contact with poverty to neutralize your bias. If you judge alcoholics harshly, well, be careful.
You might find yourself in their shoes.
It's a real possibility, according to this model. Your judgment creates an energetic slap that the universe corrects.
Yikes. Okay, so resentment and judgment are out. What about comparing ourselves feelings of superiority or inferiority?
Two sides of the same coin. Both involve assigning huge importance to how you stack up against others. It creates excess potential and wastes incredible amounts of energy trying to prove yourself or hide your perceived flaws.
Energy that could be used for
Actual self-development, building real virtues instead of just managing perceptions. And remember, compensation. Maybe you're not conventionally beautiful, but you have great charm. Maybe you're shy, but you're an amazing listener.
Focus on strengths, not comparisons. True coolness then comes from just being yourself, living by your own values without all that excess potential.
Exactly. That gives you a huge advantage, like the fly finding the open window instead of banging against the glass. Effortless action over forceful struggle.
Love that analogy. Okay, what about desire and avoidance? What does that mean here?
It means the stronger your desire, especially if it becomes this needy, dependent, obsessive wanting, the more excess potential you create around it.
Pushing it away.
Effectively, yes. Like trying to grab a butterfly, the harder you grasp, the more likely it is to fly off. The alternative is pure intention.
Yes.
Desire plus action, but without attaching massive importance to the outcome. Like deciding to buy a newspaper, you just intend to do it and you go do it.
Yeah.
No drama, no excess potential.
So if I idolize my new car, obsess over it.
You make it energetically hot, creating excess potential that might attract balancing forces in the form of scratches, dents, or worse. Treat it well, but treat it as an ordinary thing.
Okay, that makes sense. And avoidance. The more you don't want something.
The more likely it might show up. Your intense aversion creates its own imbalance. Balancing forces might bring you into contact with the very thing you're trying to avoid, just to neutralize that negative charge, like those noisy neighbors getting louder the more you hate the noise.
Oh man, that's uncomfortable, but rings true. Next big one, guilt. This is pure excess potential too.
Absolutely. It doesn't lead to reward, only to punishment, energetically speaking. Balanced forces just want to eliminate the imbalance guilt creates. They don't care if you feel bad, they just level the field.
And manipulators thrive on this, using guilt to control people.
Definitely. So, how do you deal with it, especially who did do something wrong?
Yeah, how?
Counterintuitively, don't justify yourself endlessly. If punishment is due, accept it. But crucially, don't get stuck wallowing in the guilt. Let it go.
Easier said than done sometimes.
For sure. But holding on to guilt just keeps that potential active. That's why principles like trust no one, fear nothing, ask for nothing are suggested. They minimize the creation of these potentials. Real personal power comes from an absence of guilt. Forgiveness helps, but avoid remorse that just creates dependency.
Right. Okay. Money. Always a tricky one. Easy to get unbalanced here.
Extremely easy. And the biggest trap, worrying about it. Fearing lack, obsessing over loss.
Yeah.
That's the surest way to attract less of it.
Because that worry creates excess potential around money.
Precisely. The key insight here is money is not the goal. It's an attribute that accompanies you on the path to your goals.
So focus on the goal, traveling the world, building a business, growing roses, and the money needed will come as part of that process.
That's the idea. Treat money respectfully, pick up that coin you find, but let it flow. Don't hoard it excessively, as that also creates potential. Spend wisely, let it circulate.
Like wealthy people donating to charity, partly reducing that potential imbalance of huge wealth.
That could be one interpretation. Yes, it restores some balance.
Okay, last trap, perfectionism. This seems like a good thing, but
It can become an obsession. Striving for unattainable perfection creates constant friction with balanced forces. You're always fighting reality.
and perfectionists often impose those standards on others,
Right.
right? Causing conflict.
Yes, they forget they're a guest in this world, trying to be the master, dictating how everything should be. The world naturally resists that kind of imposition.
Okay, so we've seen all these traps work. Resentment, comparison, desire, guilt, money, perfection. The common thread seems to be this idea of importance.
Exactly. That's the unifying factor. Whether it's inner importance, overestimating yourself, your flaws, your virtues, or outer importance, overvaluing external things, people, situations, both create excess potential.
So the core solution isn't to fight the situations or the balancing forces.
No, that's like banging your head against the wall. The solution is to simply reduce the level of importance you're assigning to things.
Take bricks out of the foundation of that wall of importance, and the problem crumbles.
That's the metaphor, yes. And this isn't about becoming apathetic or numb. It's about changing your attitude. Your emotions arise from your relationship to importance. Change the importance, the intense negative emotions often lessen.
Okay. And for outer importance, things outside ourselves.
Have a safety net, a backup plan. Don't put all your emotional eggs in one basket. Counterbalance.
And humor.
Okay.
You mentioned humor.
Yes. It's highlighted as the only thing that can deflate importance without creating more excess potential itself. It just releases the pressure. It's incredibly powerful.
Like laughing at a situation instantly makes it feel less heavy.
Exactly. So the golden rule for tackling any problem: first, consciously reduce the importance you've attached to it. Then take action. You stop fighting the balancing forces that way.
That wall analogy really sticks. How many times have we all felt like we're just hitting a wall?
Yeah.
The idea that we just need to stop making the wall so important, that's a huge shift. So practically speaking, how do we start doing this more?
First step is just awareness, recognizing, okay, I'm feeling stressed, stuck, angry about this. I must be giving it too much importance.
We're developing that inner witness or guardian that just observes your level of importance.
Yes. And then consciously choosing to dial it down, embrace a bit more spontaneity, maybe common sense over intense, rigid planning sometimes.
And that if you're worried, act if you can.
Right. If you can take action, do it. That moves the energy. If you can't act right now, then consciously shift your attention. Let it go. Stop feeding it mental energy.
Focus on the process of doing something, not just the huge end goal or how you look doing it.
That helps reduce self-importance, yes. And simple things. Don't constantly boast about successes or endlessly complain about failures. Just let them be experiences.
Remember that principle. Make yourself at home, but don't forget you are visiting. Live fully, but don't try to control everything.
Exactly. Maintain that balance. And if you feel truly stuck, like in a terrible situation where it seems there's nowhere to go,
Yeah.
That feeling of impossibility is often a pendulum's illusion, magnified by importance. Reduce the importance, detach emotionally, and suddenly you might see an open window, an option you couldn't perceive before.
Because you're no longer energetically bound to the impossibility of it.
Precisely. And all of this reducing of importance, it leads to the ultimate prize.
Which is?
Freedom of choice. Real freedom to navigate these lifelines.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered a lot. These pendulums that drain us, this amazing wave of fortune that can carry us. It's the fundamental law of balance, keeping everything in check, and how it all seems to pivot on this idea of importance.
And how our thoughts act like boomerangs, shaping the reality we experience. How overvaluing anything creates resistance, and letting go opens things up.
It really paints a picture of us having more influence than we might think.
A different kind of influence based on inner state rather than outer force.
So here's something to think about. If the world truly does mirror your inner state of importance and balance, what kind of hidden paradise or maybe hidden hell have you been unconsciously creating for yourself?
That's a deep question.
And maybe, what's just one small shift you could make today in your perception of what's important that might just unlock a whole new wave of fortune for you?